Welcome to Australian Taekwondo Talk, where we meet the people who make our martial art great. Brought to you by Ageless Taekwondo, part of the Move It Oz initiative, a modified program for over 65s that's accessible, affordable and implemented in a community setting. Stay tuned to find out how you or a loved one can get involved.
Like so many others of his generation, Paul Mitchell discovered martial arts as a schoolboy whose imagination was captured by Bruce Lee back in the 1970s. But as we enter the third decade of the 21st century, he isn't leaving it up to the movies to invest in the next generation of Australian Taekwondo. He's been pioneering taking Taekwondo into schools, has been responsible for thousands of young Australians being introduced to its benefits. Paul himself has had a remarkable life. He's published a book, Self-Confidence, The Martial Arts Way, Inspiring Greatness Through Self-Belief. He's been inducted into the Australasian Martial Arts Hall of Fame. He's even been nominated for Australian of the Year. He is the Master Instructor at United Taekwondo. And welcome to Australian Taekwondo Talk, Master Paul.
No, thank you so much.
You can remember the exact date that you started Taekwondo, is that right?
Yeah, it is. It was the 7th of the 8th of 1978.
Why do you remember that?
Oh, I'd been about a year before. I went down. I got a little bit of trouble at school. I had trouble at school for about 10 years before that, but I decided to go down the road and I found this Taekwondo school. And I went, great. And the master instructor there, Master Chon Yun Ree, said, would you like to join? I said, oh, look, I can't right now. Mum and Dad don't think it's time to join. So I said, would it be all right if I sit and watch? So I went there for 1 year, every Monday, Thursday, and sat and watched the whole lesson. Then I went home and I started practicing. Well, at school when I was in year 11, this boy came at me and started throwing punches. Well, I defended myself for the first time in my life. And I raced home and said, Mum, I got into trouble. She said, go and see Master Ree. And that was on the 7th of the 8th of 78.
What made you keep going back week after week, even though you weren't on the mat?
I think the confidence it gives you being a part of martial arts, it was just different. At Yellow Belt, I was standing up for myself. I'd only been there like 3 or 4 months, and it gave me that confidence to say that's unacceptable. And people backed off me, which was really good. But bullying still did continue. Because I was bullied when I was young. When I say bullied, it's when I was 6 years of age, someone punched me in the face. And ever since then, I just didn't have the confidence to stand up for my friends or for myself. And I'll be honest with you too, all the way through martial arts until in 2006 was the day my whole life changed. Well, in a few months, I was kicked out of Taekwondo in 2006. Some stories were spread about me and the master said, well, it must be true. It's been so long. I've heard him for the last 5 years. And it was just people wanting my position as regional instructor. I was the regional instructor who was in charge of 300 members, 9 centres. And so from there I had that. I didn't get the promotion at work and Mum died. So it just left me at the bottom with 1 centre, 30 members. And I honestly did decide to take the easy way out. But then I remember what my father said to me, that life will test you, challenge you, shake you or break you. But how strong you stand will make you. Always stand strong. So then I came up with the philosophy of it's hard to beat a person that never gives up. And I just took it from there. And I've never given up. And people running their own centres will have the same issues that they'll go through and they'll come to that brick wall. Well, you can keep hitting your head against a brick wall. You can go around it. You can go under it. You can go over it. Just find the way. And in our case, it's the martial arts way. And that's what makes us, I suppose, who we are.
It's interesting that you identify 2006 as a low point because in many ways that was a pivot point as well, was it not? Because that was when you got involved in the providers program for the active after school community, the Australian Sports Commission program. How did that happen?
Well, I was teaching over at Carlton Public School and a mother came in and she was so excited. And she said, oh, I've done this sporting schools program for netball. I went, oh, fantastic. She said, oh, no. I changed all my answers to Taekwondo. I said, do you want to be an instructor? She said, it would be an honour. And those words just went, I've got to look at this. And so I went in and I found a person called Pierre Comish, and he was basically my regional and kept over the top of me for the next 8 years. So Taekwondo ended up doing 250 locations, 7,000 children in Taekwondo-based martial arts-based activities. And at the end of the program in 2014, when it finished, I was nominated and selected as the number one coach out of 3,500 coaches, New South Wales ACT, and it put us in the top 10 in Australia. And I suppose that's where I've stepped from that program to the sporting schools and got in touch with Australian Taekwondo and said to Ben Exton, I said, how can I help you? And we've gone out of there and produced 50 videos, 10 lesson plans, stories, 30 lesson plans, which give more detail for teachers as well. And it's an exciting time, and I hope we get through as a sporting schools provider. We'll find out very soon.
Not only expanding the horizons of others, but expanding your own horizons. You've been video editing as recently as 20 minutes before this chat, haven't you?
Yeah. Because we got told that we needed to close our centres, I have 42 locations and about 1,500 members. So I thought I'd come on and do an online series for them. I'm finishing up the editing of the grading. So I've given them 5 sessions, and now I run them through an imaginary grading. So they have me in front, and I run a grading just like I would at a normal centre.
What can you tell me that you have learned about what happens to young people? I'll call them children. Some of them are teens and almost adults, but we'll call them children for the purpose of the exercise. What happens when children first encounter martial arts?
Well, I want to say to everybody out there, the one thing we don't teach Taekwondo when you go to school programs. All right, it's a key thing. What you need to do is what the book says. You need to inspire greatness in these children. You need to give them a lesson that puts them in a state of listening and learning. And at the end of the lesson, you then can share a story that resonates with them. If I could give you just a quick example.
Please.
I've gone over and to Lugano Public School, and there was a little boy came up to me. There's 30 in the class, and the little boy comes up and says, I get bullied. So I turned to him and I said, have you told the teachers? Oh, no. Have you told your friends? Oh, no. And then I asked this question. I said, do you have any friends? And he said, no, I don't. So I turned to the other 29 in the class and I said, I'm disgusted in all of you. I said, I've been here for 5 minutes and this boy comes and shares his deepest, darkest secret. I said, have a guess what it is. And they couldn't guess it. I said, this is what you need to do. You need to help him in sport, help him with his studies, and be his friend. And maybe he'll share that secret with you. Now, the first 3 terms, the boy never won any awards. And in term 4, when I was there, 10 weeks later, he won the most awards in the school. So this little boy with autism, it just changed his life. So then you take that story, and I go down and do another school down at West Wollongong. At the end of the class, a 9-year-old boy is standing at the door, and I turned to the instructor next to him and said, you're about to witness something amazing. And we met halfway in there, and I squatted down. I said, hi, did you enjoy today? He said, oh, I love the stories, Master Paul. He said, and I've got a story of my own. I said, what's that? He said, my grandfather passed away 2 weeks ago. And I said, look, I'm so sorry. My grandfather's passed away. I know how you feel. He says, thank you, Master Paul. And he said, but what's happening is now I suffer depression. So when a 9-year-old boy talks about depression, that upsets me. So I turned to him and I said, do you want to get rid of the sadness? And he goes, yeah. And I said, you need to go out and help as many people in the school as you can. And when they say thank you and when they smile, you take that thank you, you take that smile and you push that sadness out of you. Do you know what I mean? And he goes, I do, Master Paul. And you know what? I'm feeling better already. And he leaves the class. And I turned around to Max, and I'm saying this to all instructors Australia-wide. It's not the 190 children that you spend time at running a school program. It's the one person that you can change their life. And that's why we need to get Taekwondo into every school. 9,700 of them in Australia needs to have martial arts of any sort. But let's right now, if we're a part of sporting schools, they've got the opportunity for us to get into the schools and make a difference to this bullying. We want to get it to a point where it becomes manageable. That's the whole idea of me doing all this work with the sporting schools and writing programs for teachers and all that.
I want to talk more about the bullying in a moment, but before we move on, you said that it was about engaging and getting the students open to new ideas and a better way of thinking. I'm wondering what it is about Taekwondo that is special that allows it to do that in a way that poetry or cricket or any number of other pursuits could not do as well?
Okay, as I just mentioned before, when I go and run a school program, the last thing I do is teach them how to fight. What you've got to do is you go in to build people, not fighters. And that's why when I go down and run a program, I work really hard to get them excited, whether it's punching the paddles or the bags or doing a thumb wrestle in the class. All it does is put them at the end of the class, 30-minute or 45-minute session, where they sit down and they are just open to what you want to tell them. That's how you make a difference in the school. Because you think about it, parents say, don't do that, don't do this. Teachers are saying the same, but I don't speak to them at the beginning of class. I talk to them at the end. I believe you need to give before you can receive. So I give them an incredible lesson and they give me 5 minutes where they open up their soul, open up their heart and listen to the stories. And you can see it in their eyes that they're starting to understand. So the program needs to run for about 8 to 10 weeks. And I'll give an example. Greenacre Public School, we had a 70% reduction in one term at the school. And the principal came up and said, it's to a manageable level. And those words have stuck with me. So anybody going out, it's not that we want to go and run Taekwondo in the schools to encourage them to come to Taekwondo and become Olympic champions. No, what you've got to do is you've got to go in there and build unity within a school. I'll share another story with you. When I went to Narellan Public School, they got me to speak in front of 800 children. So I turned around after we'd done some exercises and all that with 800 in the room, just some breathing exercises. I said, I want to share a story about a little boy named Paul at his first day of school. And of course, you can see the smiles on their faces. They're going to guess it's going to be me. So I said, Paul came up to the gate and stopped. And his mum looked at him and he said, you going to go in? And he goes, no, I'm not good at sport. I'm not really smart. And no one wants to be my friend. I said to him, that's how a little 5-year-old boy would feel. It's a big school. No one wants to be my friend. I said, but his mother turned to him and said, you know what? Narellan Public School's a different school. Take a step. And in loving his mum, he stepped forward and was met by 800 children that said, if you ever want to play sport, we'll teach you. Have troubles with your study, we'll help you. And if you ever want a friend, can you please pick me? I want to be your friend. So I turned to the kids and I said, if it was you, if a boy or a girl, if it was one of you standing at that gate and you listened to your mum and you took that step and you were met by 800 children that want to help you with sport and study, I said, what is the answer? Would you ever miss a day in school? And 800 kids yelled out, no. And I'm saying to everybody out there, the answer to bullying is build unity inside these schools. And that's how you do it. You do it through these stories and then they can understand the difference they can make. When I was down at Bulli Public School, they asked me to come and teach 20 children down there. And they said, we've got bullies in here and we've got the bullied. And I looked to my right and I looked to my left and I said, well, there's the kid that looks like he's shattered and there's the kid that looks like he's got the most confidence. I said, I want you to partner him. And when he looked down, he went, oh, you're kidding me. And the principal turned around and said, you've picked it. That's the one he's bullying. And so I said to him, come and work out in the bag together. And he kicked the kid onto the ground. And I jumped over there. I said, no, I'll make a deal with you. You can kick me as hard as you like with the bag. I said, but can you make him strong? I can make him strong, which meant now the child had 5 weeks of not being bullied anymore. He just helped him. At the end of the 5 weeks, we did a session in front of about 300 children in the school. He flew over 6 bags. He smashed the board. He landed. They stood up. They applauded him, roared him. And I leant forward to him. I said, so what's it take to become number one in the school? He said, you've got to give, not take. And I said, there you go. You've learnt the story. And that's the difference we can make as martial arts instructors when you go in there to put the children in this state of listening and learning. Then you get your messages across. Then you can see the difference they can make to other people.
It's at the heart of your work now. You experienced it when you were younger. You've even written a book about it. What is bullying?
Bullying is it's not being cared for, I suppose, is mainly what it is. It's you see children in the school that you can see the difference it can make if we just give them a bit of a helping hand. You know, if you look at where I've come in Taekwondo, I've done it because of the support people behind me that tell me, have a go at tournaments. And I've got second, third, fourth in Australia in national titles. have a go, we've got your back. And when I fall down, they pick me up. Fall down, they pick me up. And that's what I believe they need to do in school. Imagine if a child came to school in the full knowledge that knowing that 799 other children are there to help him, not to hinder him and put him down, but to support him. And he's there to do the same for everybody else. That's the difference we can make as Taekwondo in the school. I think I've answered the question, maybe.
You have answered the question, but I also want to now flip it over and look at it from the other side. When somebody is bullying, they are often asserting their superiority or trying to position themselves in a powerful way.
Yeah.
But the heart of that is often insecurity. Is that a fair assertion on my behalf?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I was going to say that as well. There's two ways you can be like up there as number one or whatever. One is to give, and one is to take. And I think Jerry Springer had a show on there, and he said, "You remember Jerry Springer?"
Yeah, do I what? Yes.
There you go. So you're old as well. So he's on there, and they're wondering, why do we have packed crowds all the time? He said, because these people are looking at people that have got worse problems than them. So in a way, what the bully does is by putting someone down and so, mate, you're useless. You know, I can do that. You can't do that. I can't believe it. It's like a fake way of being secure. But if you turned around and I went off to a soccer match, we'll change it from Taekwondo to soccer for a second. And this boy turned around and he scored 10 goals on our team. And I pulled him over. I said, "Do you think you're good?" He said, "Mate, I'm number one." I said, "You're nothing." I was the coach. I said, "You're absolutely nothing." I said, "There's a boy next to you 10 times. I didn't see him there. I said, "You look to your left next time. He'll be there." And when he went down for number 11, there was the boy. He passed it to him, and this boy scored his first goal. Let me tell you now, the place went off. And I pulled the kid over and said, "You know what? Now you're number one." You look at the difference you've made to that child's life. This is his first goal. That's what I'm trying to get the message when I go to the schools. I want these guys that are so talented to share their knowledge. Isn't that what we do in martial arts? We work our way to black belt, second, third, because the whole idea is to work through the battle to get up there and achieve that black belt, to then turn around and help someone else achieve that same goal. That's what we need to do. But sometimes it gets the wrong message. When they focus on ribbons and medals and trophies, I said, that's where the fail is. I said, let's pop on back to Lugano Public School. I picked up my mobile phone and I said, "Hey guys, you've seen the latest mobile phone? It's the S30. But there's only the S20. I said, no, I've got this S30 out. And I put my phone away and I brought it out. I said, "Hey guys, I'll show you your phone." And I did this over and over, making up rubbish about my phone. Eventually, after 2 minutes, someone turned around to me and said, "It's just a phone." All 3 classes. And I said, they're exactly right. So the greatest phone in the world is just a phone. I said, but the friendship you can make left and right of you can last a lifetime. Let's go work on that. So when we got to week 6 and we'd all passed, we'd all got 5 stripes on our belt. We had a little belt system going, 5 stripes on our belt. I said, "Oh, we're going to have a tournament next week. Here we go. We can give out medals. I'll go get some medals." And all 3 classes turned around and said, "We don't want medals. We just want to have a great time with our friends." And they turned to the teachers and they've gone, "You're kidding me." And I said, "You've listened to what I've said." That's the message I get across to them.
So the through line with all of this for me, and unsurprisingly, it was one of the key themes of your book as well, is that whether you are a bully who is trying to feel big by standing on someone else, right?
Yeah,
or whether you are the bullied who is feeling crushed down by that experience, the way to return some equilibrium is to turn it inwards and make the person standing on top feel like they don't need to be any taller than they are, and have the person underneath feel like they can stand tall and hold their own. So that's a slightly tortured example, but do you hear what I'm saying?
I do. These boys have got so much talent. You know, I went off to a tournament. And this boy was standing there and his father said, "Oh, could you have a look at his pattern for me, his green belt pattern?" I said, "Yeah, no worries." I'll tell you now, it's the worst pattern I've ever seen. But, you know, I looked around and I said, "So I got 15 minutes here to spare. I said to him, listen to what I'm going to do to you, because this boy was a soccer champion, under nines. He will represent Australia. He was that good. So all I needed to do was give him technique. And then I gave him a purpose. I went back to my ring. I came first in my tournament. I brought over the trophy. I said, first place, now it's your turn. He was pumped. So anyhow, the father came back and he said, you won't believe it, 20 or 30 people on the mat. He's got second place. He said, I don't know how to thank you. I said, listen to me. Your child already has the talent to be number one. He just needed the support and the guidance. That's all it is. Now, take that as I am with the Taekwondo programs in the schools. Think about this for a second. If we go there and teach Taekwondo, right, we're just going to get people, some people, whatever, doing Taekwondo. If we can run a full school program which inspires greatness, you're going to get soccer champions, football champions, cricket and all that, these elite people coming over and starting Taekwondo. Now watch what happens at the Olympics, because you've got to get the people with the drive. Not everybody has that drive. So the school program is there to kind of give them that stepping stone up to say, you know what? Get over here and have some fun with Taekwondo. And if we get majority over like a sales funnel in a way, we want as many as we can doing, you'll funnel it down, you'll have more people wanting to go and become Olympic champions. That's kind of what I'm trying to work with Australian Taekwondo with.
You just mentioned the word for the first time, and yet it's probably the single word that came through most strongly in looking at your life, and that is purpose. It's obviously a cornerstone of what motivates people in Taekwondo. It's a key to happiness in whatever you do in life. What is purpose to you?
The purpose is to reduce bullying to a manageable level. If you look at my vision statement, is that I believe that adults and children should enjoy going to work and school, build lasting friendships, and develop the confidence to be successful in all areas of life. And I highlight the all. If we go and teach Taekwondo in school, right, you're going to be good at Taekwondo. If we go and get these children to inspire to be great in everything they do, then you're changing. Right now, the education system from 2000 to now, English, maths, and science has gone down. It's keep going down because children go to school now and spend more time trying to avoid being bullied and less time learning. And then they throw the stats back at you and say, an adult that's been bullied at school has has more chance of suffering depression. And then you look at the third thing, and that is schools are finding it increasingly difficult to offer a peaceful solution to a better life for these kids. They're struggling. But every time I walk into a school, every time I run a program, the principals turn around and go, oh my goodness, the difference you make when we're in the schools. So what does that say? We need Taekwondo in schools, and we need it consistently. 3-4 years later, there won't be a bullying problem. Once people have respect for each other, respect the differences, whether it's autism or whatever, or maybe not very good at sport, just have respect for people. They're so focused. Kids are so focused on coming first, second, third. I got to get a medal. If I don't get a medal, I'm not recognised. I'll tell you, I'll share a story with you that I hope I don't cry on this, right?
I hope I don't cry.
But I'm in my class, and I've got a guy next to me that I've been helping for years, and he's a 7 times national champion now. So I was telling the class about it, and he turned around to me and he goes, excuse me, Master Paul, could I say a few words? And I said, oh, no problem, John. He said, I don't think I've ever publicly thanked you for the difference that you've made to my life. And that just touched my heart. It's not about all the money that we get or whatever. It's not about that at all. That from him was all he needed to say. All that work I put in to get him to where he was, that said it all. And that's how I think I keep going. Every single day I'll do random acts of kindness. Every single day I'll look for some way to help somebody. Whether it might be an elderly gentleman sitting at the coffee shop, before the COVID came. He's just sitting there, and I looked at him and said, are we just here on our own, are we? He said, yeah, I live on my own. I said, well, would you like to have a chat with me? And I'll tell you now, when I left, he patted my shoulder and said, you've just made my day. If people could just take a little bit of time out of their day, it makes such a difference to a person's life. I mean, I had an instructor's mum was out of work, 25 years out of work. And I said, oh, do you want me to be a referee? She said, oh, that'd be fantastic. I'm going for a job at Prince of Wales administration, like at the hospital. I said, wow, we're starting big on our first day back. I'm really good at what I do. And I said, did you used to do the bookwork for your son who ran 3 centres and 120 members? She said, yeah. I said, leave it with me. The guy rings me up on the phone. And I turned to him and said, how can I help you? He said, like Liz Vogel, I'd like to know a little bit about her. I said, what job's she going for? I said, administration. Really? And I shared the story. By the time I'd finished, 1 minute later, he said, I've got to have her. And I rang her up and said, you've got the job. And she's been there for 3 years now. Please understand when you just share your experience that you've got in helping people, and you make such a difference to people's lives.
So here's what I'm hearing, Master Paul. Yes, there's been infinite hours of training. There's been travel. There's been learning. There's been writing. There's been your whole adventure. But at the end of the day, some time ago, you were a little boy who discovered Taekwondo, and it transformed the way you move through the world. And now pretty much you just want that for every kid.
I do so much from my heart. I just care so much for those children that when you go there and you make a difference to somebody's life, whether it be in primary school or high school, a girl that was ostracized. I spent 5 days at the school and she ran into me 10 years later, came up and hugged me and said, I don't know if I've ever thanked you. She said, before you came, it was unbearable. But after you spent 5 days there and got these children to treat me with a bit of respect, I said, I got through school, I've done study, I now have a job, and I'm so happy. We can make such a difference. And isn't that what we're supposed to be? We're supposed to be role models. Taekwondo instructors are role models in this community. Actually, we're possibly the ones that can keep people out of jail. And the way we stand at the front, the way we conduct ourselves and all that, they'll just learn from us and copy from us. So it's an important role, and I'm lucky I've been in this position that, my master instructor got rid of me. And, well, as you said, look back on my life now, life's not happening to you, it's happening for you. These hard times in your life, you look at them then and go, I don't know how I can move forward, but just move forward. Because 10 years later, I'm looking back going, thank you so much for kicking me out of Taekwondo. I've got, as I said, 42 centres, 1,500 members. We teach over 2,000 students a week now, and we're only one club. Imagine if all martial arts got the same thing, to build people, not fighters. Don't worry about the medals. Worry about going to the schools and sharing your knowledge sharing the stories. That's why I've got this teachers program going on. I don't know, can I expand on the teachers program?
By all means.
Okay, so what's happening this year is that anybody studying primary school teaching, studying at universities, can train and grade for free under United Taekwondo. Now, they have to get 576 hours of work experience, which is 4 weeks a year. Now, I contacted some principals that I know, and I said, do you get many people inquiring? And they said, too many. We have to delete a lot of them, and we're really sad to do that. I said, can I offer you another suggestion? If I hire them and send them to your school to run an 8-week lesson, I said, then you get to meet them. They get to meet the teachers. They get to get experience asking the teachers what it's like. They get to meet the kids. They get to train the children. So instead of spending their off time going to the pub and working behind the bar for 20 hours, they can go spend a day or two a week and go and teach children in the school, which is where they're wanting to go anyhow. I said, would that make a difference? Would that give them a better opportunity to get their practical experience? And all of them said yes. So that is one thing I'm doing for them. I'll give them their uniform. I'll give them equipment to run in the schools. I'll give them everything they need to go in there, and I'll pay them on top of that as well. Then we look at the second side of this thing. So I've just finished with Australian Taekwondo another 30 videos, which is specifically pushed at teachers, like for them to learn. So what the teachers in the school is a PWSA. So there's 15 schools, say, in an area. I want to teach a couple of teachers from every school, run them in a program, and then send them back to the school to teach Taekwondo in the school and to run my program, or run the Kickstarters program for 10 weeks or 8 weeks or however many weeks they want to run it. Now, you think about 9,700 schools. I've already put out grants for Westfield Grant, St. George Grant, anywhere I can. Give me some money here to get this thing up and going around Australia. I'll just travel around Australia if I have to and get these teachers up and going. And I thought, How do I get to them all? So this online training session I'm doing for my students, I'll actually give it to them. They can possibly have it for free. So what they'll be able to do is now learn in a class-like environment, but at home, and give them a better understanding of the program to go to the school to run Taekwondo. Now, what I was going to ask is any of the Australian Taekwondo people that are listening, or any Taekwondos in Australia listening, let these university students, let these teachers come to your hall for free. Teach them, help them, guide them. So when they go back and run the program, when the children want to do Taekwondo, and they'll come back to your hall. You see how when I do this work with Taekwondo or anything I do, it's got to be community focused. Everything I do is community focused. It's got to be a way of benefiting our community. So that's our little thing with the teachers.
It's a great challenge to perhaps leave our conversation on. I feel like we can touch base very regularly and get an update on how things are progressing. And as you say, so many of the young people who are involved in this program may never throw a punch in competition, may never pull a pose in competition. They will just be people who've been exposed to the philosophy and the possibility of Taekwondo. Thank you for the work that you do, and thank you for being a guest on Australian Taekwondo Talk today. Master Paul Mitchell.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it. Thanks, Aaron.
Now let's learn more about Ageless Taekwondo, part of the Move It Oz initiative.
At this point in each episode of Australian Taekwondo Talk, we take a moment to look at Ageless Taekwondo, which is the program that supports this program and is also supporting lots of Australians to age better, live longer and healthier, and ultimately happier lives through a modified Taekwondo program. Australian Taekwondo's participation manager Ben Exton oversees the Australian Taekwondo program, and he's here to talk a little bit more about what the class experience is like and also how the design achieves certain outcomes for Ageless Taekwondo. Hi, Ben.
Hi, Aaron. How are you?
Yeah, great. Thank you. Thanks for being with us again. I'm particularly interested in the design of programs like this. It is a little bit of a magician's trick in that you try to make it look simple and easy and pretty casual, but actually there's a lot of science that goes into outcomes, objectives, and processes to achieve them in the design of a program like this, isn't there?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, it looks like simple exercise on the surface, but there's a lot of thought and a lot of looking at research and best practice that's gone into it.
Let's pick apart some of the outcomes or issues that are being addressed through Ageless Taekwondo. A couple of them you've touched on in previous episodes, but it doesn't hurt to revisit them. The first one being falls prevention. How does Ageless Taekwondo tackle that issue?
Yeah, there's kind of two elements to falls prevention. The first is working on someone's physiological ability, so through strengthening their lower limbs, improving their balance, improving their coordination, improving their agility, improving their reaction times to things. So modified Taekwondo is uniquely placed to do all that. You can focus on the Taekwondo stances to build leg strength. You can focus on patterns to build coordination. You could use the boxing gloves and mitts to do some reactive work. And then that all kind of contributes to improving someone's physiological ability and strength, but also their neurological ability to react to a fall. A lot of the issues with the falls is that if they're not working on their reaction times and things like this, then they might trip on something and they won't react in time and they'll fall over. And we all know the issue here is if they fall over, they break their hip, then it's a bit of a downward trend from there because they really can't exercise after that.
No, there's some really bad outcomes as soon as somebody breaks a hip. The outlook thereafter is not great. And I guess it's kind of about having some skills to augment a fall, even though you're not teaching people how not to fall. What is happening, if you or I at our age fall, you would like to think you'd grab the edge of the table or roll out of it somewhat or whatever else. But if you are aged and not in great physical and mental dexterity, then you really can have a heavy fall fall and it's too late to pull yourself out of it.
Yeah, very much so. And just working on their reflexes and reaction times through various Taekwondo exercises can really, really contribute to that. The other aspect to it is that by working on these things and telling the participants that these things contribute to falls prevention, you improve their confidence and reduce their fear around falling. A lot of the research shows that the more fearful they are of falling, the more likely they are to fall, irrespective of their physiological ability. So if they're really fearful, they're not going to walk in the same way as they might down the street. They're going to be more tentative and things like that. So another huge aspect is just improving their confidence around that.
There's something of a Venn diagram between all of these desired outcomes and the designs that have been hardwired in, and you can see the crossover between the next ones. Everything that you just said there about confidence and moving more successfully through the world, you can see how that crosses over with the outcome of social and psychological well-being.
Yeah, definitely. So that gives them a lot of confidence just in day-to-day life. And you might find that the confidence they get out of an Ageless Taekwondo class is going to transfer into other elements of their life. Like they might go and play tennis now because they feel the confidence to do it. They might go for a bushwalk because they're feeling more confident to do it. And that's the kind of outcomes we want. We don't just want them doing Taekwondo. We want them doing heaps of other things. And Taekwondo has given them the confidence to do it. The other thing with giving them the confidence is that, they see other people in the group going through other challenges as well. And if they're all going through that together and improving, it gives them a lot of psychological and social well-being as well. Just being involved in a group where everyone's working towards those objectives.
It's a little more of a footnote than a mainstream idea in the design, but creating a safe environment matters as well, particularly if you are an instructor listening to this and perhaps interested in setting something up. It is important to create a safe space, even though that term's become somewhat pejorative. It's important, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, very much so. We put in the instructor guide for accredited instructors a bit of a risk assessment template. So it's simple, but with this demographic and this age group, you've got to think about a few different things to what you might do with your traditional class. Like you need a flat ground, just look out for obstacles. You need shade. If you're going to use steps and other things like that, getting them to work in pairs and spot each other. But yeah, a lot of creating that safe environment is the instructor assessing the ability of their class and just adjusting it from time to time. But initially, they need to go in there and do a bit of a risk assessment of the location. Things like having a defibrillator on hand as well. That's very important.
And many accomplished instructors would know a lot of this stuff intuitively, but there is formal resources available to make sure that you are meeting all the standards and indeed have all of this background if you sign up to Ageless Taekwondo.
Yeah, definitely. You get a very comprehensive instructor guide, which is really good.
One other aspect that I know you're trying to achieve in a successful Ageless Taekwondo class is, I guess, a backstage pass or an entry into the Australian Taekwondo community. And in fact, Australian Taekwondo is a series of different communities, and increasingly Ageless Taekwondo is one of them.
Yeah, I think a lot of the challenges that older Australians have is feelings of social isolation and not being part of stuff. So one aspect is they get involved in the class, so they're involved with other people. And if they're looking to get involved in other things, through their Ageless Taekwondo class, they can become an Australian Taekwondo member and be brought into the broader community. So there's a few opportunities through that. They might be linked with a local club or the club of the instructor taking the Ageless Taekwondo class and come and help out or volunteer or just be involved in any case. They might want to come and help out at competitions and things like that. Even down the track, we might be looking at just really basic Pumse pattern competitions for this demographic as well. But we're trying to bring them into the broader community and make them feel part of, Australian Taekwondo nationally.
If we imagine we're exploring the the pyramid that constitutes the Ageless Taekwondo program, I guess at the very peak is how this Taekwondo, modified Taekwondo approach fits into the broader national strategy and why the government is actually committing energy and money into older Australians exercising.
Sport Australia, which is a federal government organisation, formerly the Australian Sports Commission, they fund the program, and it was all through under their umbrella initiative called the Move It Oz initiative, Move It Australia initiative. So they're really trying to focus on facilitating greater exercise through various different cultural or subgroups in Australia. So the over 65s was one. So the big message that they put out is that they want people, for this demographic, 5 days a week, they'd like to be at a minimum doing 30 minutes of moderate exercise per day, trying to do something every day if possible, and even more. So through the Ageless Taekwondo program, we're trying to tell instructors that it's really important that they use the same national messages that the federal government use. So that just to tell them, it's really important you do something every day for 30 minutes. I mean, it's as simple as that. But if you tell them something different that contradicts what the national message is, neither message will work. So it's really important that we use the same national health messages to reinforce it.
And again, the Ageless Taekwondo resources really hold your hand through that entire process, so it is pretty easy. Thank you very much, Ben, for talking us through what we're trying to achieve in class and I guess the logical rationale behind Ageless Taekwondo. We'll catch up with you again next episode. Thank you.
No worries. Thanks, Aaron.
That is Ben Exton, who is the participation manager for Australian Taekwondo. And that is where we leave this episode of Australian Taekwondo Talk. Wherever you have found us, please make sure that you subscribe and share. You can go on there and give us a rating. You can give us a review as well. Why does that matter? It's not about stroking our ego. It is about making sure that the little magic algorithm that puts podcasts in front of other people knows that this is something worth sharing, and your endorsement will really help in that regard. But nothing beats you emailing, texting, sharing, Facebooking it to somebody else. That is the best way that they will find it. And of course, there's quite the back catalogue coming together now. Do play your small part if you can in sharing Australian Taekwondo Talk far and wide. We'll see you next episode.
For more information on how you can get involved with Ageless Taekwondo and a whole lot more, head to ostkd.com.au. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram too. Thanks for being a part of Australian Taekwondo Talk.